it's kind of in the root of the creation of our organization, right? Like, I think youth just naturally are, especially in the IE, have shown to be like trailblazers. And I mean, over here, like that they create something, that they have like natural leadership and the lived experience.
Hey y'all, welcome back to La Colisión. I'm Esmeralda Santos with the Coalition for Immigrant Justice, and I'm here with my guest.
Hi everybody. My name is Angel Fajardo. I'm the executive director with IEIYC, Inland Empire Immigrant Youth Collective. I was born in Mexico City, migrated here at 4 years old, have been an IE resident ever since, just moving around. And I've been organizing for about a decade and with IEIYC for 5 years.
So I'm Alan Vargas. Ooh, what was that? Alan Vargas, a Latino creator on Latino content creators for immigrant justice. So I haven't been organizing for long enough. I'd say 3 years if we count this year. I took my first big brave step in 2020 when I learned how to organize after looking up on Google how to organize an event. I'd say at that time I was like 19, 18. So taking those big brave steps. And I'm born and bred here in California.
I love that you just Googled it. It's that easy, kind of.
YouTube. No.
Yeah.
How to.
Yeah. So today we'll be talking a little bit about the youth in the movement, and you two are really a prime example. Angel being in the movement for a while and now mentoring so many youth, and Angel being the youth and supporting the youth. So I'm curious to know, what is your favorite memory in immigration justice?
Oh man. Let's see. I think for myself personally, it has to be the passage of the California Dream Act, so the in-state tuition. Just as a personal memory, because I remember it was that exact time where I was about to graduate high school, and that news was dropped on me by like my tutor. And right there, I just started crying in class, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know what this means to me." So it was definitely like one of the sweeter moments of my journey.
And so, just to clarify, were you like involved at this moment, or was this before?
This was before, and I do have to say that it was because of the folks who were in the movement at that time that I was inclined into it, right? Because it was the idea that I know it wasn't just given, that it was fought for. And so I was like, oh, I deserve to be working towards something like this for others. Like, that's what I was thinking,
What about you, Ellen?
I'd say it just happened recently on June 1st. We had a national immigrant strike, and one of the big effects we saw that from there is that now Republicans in Florida are telling immigrants not to leave. They're like, please don't leave, please don't leave. The bill was a joke. It's a joke, bro. And now that they're actually leaving, they're scared. And I'm like, I feel so vindicated by it because we've for so long said that if immigrants if they actually pass these bills, it's actually going to hurt their own states, and in their own blind idea that they're right, they actually weren't right, and now they're paying the price for it. And it's just very rewarding to see that they're actually now feeling the consequences of what they're saying, and that their actions and their beliefs actually have consequences for the things that they actually do.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for sharing. I think both of your experiences attest a lot to the movement, and also it's really cool to see that DACA was such a huge piece, and it's still continuing to be, and now being more contemporary about what's happening now, right? So I'm curious to know a little bit about your orgs, what you do there. Yeah.
Can I go first?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know how to go first. So IEIYC, Inland Empire Immigrant Youth Collective, a long acronym. So it's really a space for youth who identify as undocumented or immigrant. And I don't even want to say that, actually. I feel like it's for immigrant youth ages like high school, so like 15, early 20s, who are really looking for a safe space, but also a space where they can feel they can be provided the tools to make changes in their community. I really stay away from the word like empowerment, because it's like it gives the idea of that we're giving the youth the power, but it's rather like we are just providing the tools to really show them their own potential, and to armor them with whatever they need to make the changes and to advocate and whatever that they need at all levels. And so we do work that is like at school district level, state level, federal, not so much recently, but when it makes sense, right? And this is something that has to be urged by our membership rather than by our leadership. So that's the gist.
Cool, cool. Ellen?
So Latino Content Creators Coalition, also very long name. I think I might win the acronym. It's a bunch of content creators that we've just basically decided to form our own coalition, unite all of our audiences, at least in pushing for immigrant rights, because one of the biggest things is that a ton of us have, followings of different scales, some of us in the thousands, some of us in the millions, and we all just decided to come together and be like, we should all come together and push a uniform message when it comes to fighting for the immigrant rights movement. And that's kind of what we did, and kind of how we are currently organizing the strikes that we saw on June 1st. We worked with some of our local people, empower them, make sure that they have the resources they need. We set up our own little website, Mobilize for Immigrants, to put all of the events that community is doing to make sure that we can amplify it on social media, so people know that, if you go to this website, they'll find some local events. And now we're following the lead of the Florida organizations and organizing another strike for June 1st.
Cool. Awesome. We'll put that in the notes later. That way folks can also go ahead and go look at your website, but also yours.
No, that's really neat.
Yeah, it is really cool. So this podcast, La Coalición, it is centered around immigrant justice, right? But youth immigrant justice is just a piece in it that is so essential, and there's so much opportunity for our youth to get involved. So I'm curious to know, how do they get involved with you? How do they contact you? Like, is there anything coming up?
Yeah, I mean, for us, there's different levels of involvement. I think we were just talking about this earlier, how folks have different levels of like comfortability in their involvement.
Yeah.
And so it could be something as simple as giving us a follow and sharing it with your friends, specifically those who have like mixed status families, because we do give out updates, but also resources that are for undocumented families. And then there's a level of like, hey, maybe you're ready to donate, you want to invest in the programs that we have. So there's that. But if you really want to get into like, elbow deep, getting in the work, definitely start joining our membership meetings, which are monthly. We do have programs throughout the year. I think the most like, I don't know, how would I even say, like, it's like our bread and butter would be UMA, so our Undocumented Mentorship Academy. That's geared more towards like high school youth, but it definitely brings like the opportunity to, like I was mentioning earlier, to get all the tools that you need to begin your journey in advocacy. And then we also have something coming up in later this year, so keep your eyes out for that. It's a fellowship program for immigrant young adults. It's going to be 18 and over. But the opportunity to explore your career, to explore different skills that you wanted to build. So there's different opportunities at whatever level of comfortability you have. But definitely just keeping us on your feed so that you're aware of like what we have available.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Obviously, as a content creator, we always invite people to at least follow us, because one of the biggest things, like, I struggle is like looking through all those DMs, because in the mix, spreading a message to so many people, not everyone's going to be supportive of immigrant justice. So it's like hard filtering through all of these comments. They're like, yes, we need to do more for our community. And then like someone's like, you need to come here the right way. I did it the right way. So obviously we do have an email as well, which we do check, which I could also provide that you can include. I do not know the full length of it, because I do not run the email, because someone else runs the email, or else because we all in the coalition have our own different capacities in what we do. But one of the biggest ways that we ask youth to get involved is just, we encourage them not only to follow and just share the videos, because information is one of the biggest things that even a young person can provide, even during right now, because misinformation is the most potent thing, especially within within community ourselves. Seeing like other people just demean immigrants like, oh, it's this sense of like feeling like, someone came here the right way, so it feels like they somehow are better than those that don't have the resources to come here the right way. So I think arming people with information, having youth, do research about how to effectively talk immigration in different spaces and outside of, just the immigrant rights movement, because building coalition means having conversations with people outside of the movement and realizing that it's connected to so many different other things, whether it's undocumented women having access to abortion or talking about climate change contributing to migration at the border. It's so important that we arm youth with, the research and the tools to make sure that they can have those conversations to build a bigger movement than just keeping it just to ourselves. And I think that's the future of the movement.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Angel. I think it's so important. I feel like lately I've been hearing more of this intersectional lens, right? And we've been working towards educating ourselves in that point of view. But I'm also interested in seeing, why do you personally think, or not personally, why is it important for youth to be involved, or why should they care? How does this impact them?
Yeah. So I think for us, it's kind of in the root of the creation of our organization, right? Like, I think the youth just naturally are, especially in the IE, have shown to be like trailblazers. And I mean, like over here, like that they create something, that they have like natural leadership and the lived experience. And like I mentioned, my favorite memory, that was done through folks who have been in the movement since then, and it was because of them as students. So I think it's very loud. I think it's something that very impactful, that a lot of folks will listen into. I know there's the messaging like, oh, we should listen to them because they're the future. But I'm like, no, y'all, they're the present. Like, we're here. They're the present. And I think it's like, it's just been shown in different aspects of, like, with different campaigns. For example, I'm thinking about the Health for All movement. That was like a 10-year campaign, right? And we're finally there. And the thing is, what was it, like 2018, where we were basically at a point where we're fighting like, okay, so it's not going to pass again, but now we have to select another age group that's going to be covered. And automatically, like, government, I don't know, I actually forgot who. I'm assuming it was Newsom's office that was like, let's do young adults. But our young adults are over here, we're like, no, we want the elders to be covered first. And it's because I feel like that stems from the selflessness of their being. Like, they care about their family. They care about, you think about your abuelita, you think about your parents, and that's who you're usually, I don't want to say everybody, but like, that's where all the stories that have come by. Like, we think of our families first. We're very family oriented. So I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, youth advocacy is a very strong aspect in the movement, and has been, for generations, I would even say. So I think that's why it's important.
Wow, I definitely related to that. I recently just got like real insurance through my job, right? And I was asked by my job, like, oh, do you have any independence? And I was like, no, but I have my mom. Like, can I put her? My mom's undocumented and doesn't have access.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know the feeling. I was like, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was nice to hear. I'm not the only one. Yeah, but Alan, would you like to contribute anything to that?
And I think one of the biggest victories, I think I made a video about the healthcare for all when Newsom officially like signed it into a thing. And I remember my dad, who also has no status, he's like, does it mean I finally get covered? I'm like, yes, it does mean you finally get covered. You don't have to, pay so much para las consultas and all of that when you go to like the clinic. It means that you can now apply for what, you should have been given a long time ago, because undocumented immigrants pay taxes as a law in the state. And this is just basically, in the video, I think I called it a reinvestment, because immigrants are investing in the country and they deserve that money back because they're investors just like anybody else. And on the internet, people, have strong opinions like, no, they don't invest. I'm like the IRS says otherwise, and a bunch of other sources say otherwise. Cornell came out with a study, and it's a big win. Honestly, it's something that those of us who come from mixed status families, we've been screaming about for a while. Like, they deserve this. They deserve basic respect and human decency that any other person deserves, whether it's at the border or in our own communities. Making sure those roads are taken care of. Make sure that some of our family lives in areas with nice sidewalks and anything else. Like, any other U.S. citizen, and making sure that they also are priced out of the housing market, which is a very serious thing nowadays. So many different other angles when it comes to fighting for immigrant justice, and it's just not, making sure that they have the papers. It's also economic justice, it's racial justice, and just so many different facets of it.
Thank you, Ellen. That was nicely said. Yeah. I want to open up the space now for either you to bring up something maybe I didn't bring up and you really wanted to mention.
No, I just wanted to add to what Alan was mentioning. I think when I think about the generations and like how at least, my parents and my grandparents lived in the shadow, I want to say quote unquote lived in the shadows. Um, and so it was always like hush hush, like nobody needs to know that we're, immigrants, that we don't have documents, whatever. And then comes the or our generation where it was like, no, undocumented, unafraid, and unapologetic, and it's just out there. And I think that's really what's created like a lot of the movements that we see now. So even something like DACA, that came from that, right? And so I think that's why youth advocacy is important, because we have differences in different generational differences, right? And I feel like being here and supported, it's like there's a little bit more incentive to advocate. Yeah, so I just wanted to add on to that.
I think earlier we mentioned how the generations are quite a bit different, right? So is there something that you really admire from this generation that is maybe really different from your own?
I'm just trying to think. Do you have anything?
We're very progressive. I'm gonna just say that we're not afraid of rocking the boat or, throwing a punch or something that politicians or older people are like, oh, that's not what you should do. You should negotiate. And I'm like, some things you just don't negotiate for. You don't negotiate on human rights. You don't negotiate on treating people less than human. You treat them as a full human. And we negotiate on non-human rights. We'll negotiate on other things like maybe tax policy. But whenever it comes to human rights or people's struggles, we're not negotiating on that. We're demanding what should have been demanded a long time ago, because that's what a majority of young voters across the country believe, and that's what a majority of public believes.
Yeah. And you can even see it in the workforce. Like, since I work with youth, like in our offices and on operations, I'm always like in awe. I don't know. I know there's like different opinions about like Gen Zs and how they're prioritizing their whole wellness as opposed to work, and then you hear like like boomers saying like, oh, they're just lazy or they're sensitive. But I actually see it the opposite. I'm like, I always admire them, and I feel like I've learned so much and I've changed so much working with this new generation. Like, just learning how to take care of yourself, what's important. Some things are just non-negotiable. Like in the workplace, where like I don't get paid well, or you treat me this way, bye. And I see it, right? But like, it's just a fresh perspective, and they're like less willing to take people's BS, and that's cool. I admire that.
So I want to thank you both so much for coming today. I was so excited to have you both here. I love both of you. So yeah. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, actually, I want to invite everybody to follow us and also to sign up for our newsletters, because we have a lot of exciting things coming up in the summer. Like I mentioned earlier, our immigrant fellowship program, our fundraiser, which is going to be a photo art exhibit from our previous UMA cohorts, really highlighting their stories as undocumented individuals in the IE. And we could really use your support, not just financially, but physically. It'd be amazing to have y'all there. So just, follow us on Instagram and sign up for our newsletters through our website.
One of the big things we got coming up is not only the July 1st strike that you're all invited to. It's in Corona, so it's unheard of to have a protest in Corona. Well, for the people who live in the IE, it's very strange. Corona is known as the spot where you go to work and you go to sleep. There's never much political action, and when you knock on a door during a political campaign, someone looks at you like, who are you? Or you're not Amazon. So we invite everyone, of course, to come out there to obviously support our friends out in Florida who are organizing protests against Ron DeSantis, because that's when the new Florida law gets implemented. So that's why they're organizing another strike, in order to send him yet another message. But I also want to shout out some of the really cool organizers that are also Gen Z that are helping me organize some of the few things. I got Josh over here in studio who's wants to get involved as well, and also Ree and a ton of other people who attended a sit-in at Gavin Newsom's house for a safety net. And we woke up like at 4 a.m. and my friend Reed was there. He's like, this is amazing. I'm like, y'all are really hype. I'm like, you know it. We gotta wake up. We woke up Gavin Newsom with Las Mañanitas. We woke him up with tamales and champurrado. I'm like, it was a whole thing. We labeled it breakfast at Newsom's.
Oh my God.
We also have a social media. So at least for the coalition, Latino Content Creators for Immigrant Justice Coalition, it's Mobilized for Immigrants with the four, not the actual four. And then my personal, obviously, got to do the plug as a content creator. It's just the Alan Vargas. I'm very on brand. I don't like having a very long name like rock, paper, scissors, 450. I'm like, no. It's going to be and then just my name.
I always thought those were bots. I thought they were.
Same. Okay. Well, thanks, y'all. And for those listening, their ads and their websites and their info will be in the notes. So go click it and go follow them. Thank you. All right. Thank you.